What am I doing? This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Greg Gizmo Zord Parker, and you're listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 160, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multi-Zord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. And on this week's episode, there is new Twitch Prime loot headed to the Nexus. Does Dead Man Stand have legs? Of course, otherwise it'd be Dead Man Sit.
How long were you thinking of that one?
At least a week, right?
Oh my gosh.
The status of supports. And we get into our Fenix build, which is most definitely going to get nerfed at some point in this week's Hero of the Week. But I actually didn't think of that long. I originally was going to make all of that related to legs somehow, and it got really dumb. So I just changed it to that. It worked.
I think it did work. Congratulations.
But yeah, how are you guys doing tonight, Multi?
I'm doing well. Just it's been crazy busy. We're actually moving at the end of the month, my wife and I, and son now, and dogs. That's just a lot of organisms to move.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. So it's been kind of a crazy month, but been trying to squeeze in some games where I can. But I'm doing well. We're happy to have found a place to move to. We're not going to be doing the cardboard box thing.
That is
so
good.
That's good
because that would be a lot of cardboard boxes.
Yeah,
or just one big one.
Yeah, or just stitch them all together and just make a tree house.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can people make houses out of those like shipping containers,
Crates,
right?
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
this.
It's kind of like a budget version of that budget version of a normal house.
I think it can be done.
It's the super budget. TBK, how are you doing tonight?
Not so good, Greg. Because just before the podcast started, LSU lost, which totally destroys my Heroes of the Dorm bracket.
Yeah, I had them going all the way too. So,
yep.
But then again,
apparently a lot of people did.
Yeah.
It's very
Mine
unfortunate.
was fine. It didn't affect my bracket at all.
Yes. Who did you have winning, Greg?
Just the winner. So
obviously.
Okay. Gotcha.
If listeners listened all the way through the episode last week, at the end you might have heard me say, "Oh crap!" Very surprised, and that is because at that exact moment, I had realized I didn't finish my bracket. But it's not because I completely forgot. I mean, I forgot, but I was working on it. I was putting a lot of work into it. I had 20, 30 minutes into it. I was going back over stats, what their picks were, what their win percents with each hero was versus their opponents on, what's meta, what's off meta, what's the best matchups. And I got about halfway through, and then I had to do CTR on Tuesday night. And then after CTR, I forgot to go back and finish it.
So you're blaming Pat Crane for this?
Yes.
I see how this is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yes. So it's not my fault. It's CTR's fault. Otherwise, I would have won $10,000. Easy as that.
If you guys were just Horde, you could have just bypassed this whole thing.
Yeah, I wish it would have saved the portion that I had, just so I could have seen how it was doing up to that point. But I completely forgot now. So, we'll have to see whose bracket, who brings the big bucks home this year?
I don't think it's going to be me. I'm definitely rank 11,759 presently. So not good. Not good. And I put some effort into it as well, but just not enough, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the RNG wasn't in my factor. I didn't have enough upsets, maybe.
You're doing slightly better than me. I'm 14,911.
Oh.
So, yeah, so
all right.
what you're saying is you're not going to do as well as you did last year.
Seeing as my winner is out now, I'm gonna say probably not as well as last year. But I am under 15,000 still, so there's that.
Hey, what does that get for 15,000?
Nothing.
Oh,
Absolutely nothing.
Pride.
just the constellation prize that you
I'm
can
just
tell yourself
just
I'm within the
pride
top
that
15,000.
Yes, that I'm not over 15,000.
Okay.
Although
LSU
after
is the
tonight,
only-
who knows?
I had LSU winning as well, and it's the only one that is out in my picked grand finals. So, I mean, not finals, but also the Heroic Four as well. So, I've still got some names in the game, just not the winner.
You know what another constellation prize for you both are? I can say, you're over 9,000.
Yeah.
So, just feel
It's
real
true.
powerful.
You can say that to both of us.
Exactly. Well, what have you guys been up to in gaming this week? TPK, I'll start with you.
I beat Wolfenstein. Did I say that one already?
Not
I'm
sure.
trying to
I
remember.
knew you were
It's been
playing
a-
it, but
Yeah, it's been a long week. Like it feels longer for some reason. But I beat Wolfenstein, New Order, 2 big thumbs up. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through the Battlefront 2 campaign. So that's actually been really fun. Why there's not an open world Star Wars RPG out, I have no idea. Like like printing money, like print money, single player, open world Star Wars RPG, or even like a co-op one, whatever.
They need to make a new
there's
Star Wars
rumors.
Knights of the Old
There's
Republic. Make a new one
Yes,
of
they
those
do.
and make it open world. Those games were sick.
Oh my gosh.
you know,
2 of
you know
my
how you
favorite
really,
games of all time.
you know how you really make money on that? You have EA do it, and then you have them sell loot boxes that affect your actual
gosh.
play for ridiculous amounts of money, and just do that, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
Good idea.
exactly. That's a winning strategy right there.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna finish that up. It's a short one, but it's been fun so far. It's kind of scratching the Star Wars single player itch until something legitimate, full on single player game comes out, and then I'm gonna be starting Assassin's Creed Black Sail after that.
Nice.
So I'm pretty
I've
excited.
actually heard that's really good.
It is. It's
From a
very
lot
I've
of
heard it's
sources.
one of the top 3 Assassin's Creed games, so I'm pretty excited to play it.
Was it number 3 or number 4?
I
think it was
I
number
thought it was
3.
number 3.
Yeah, which means
Yeah.
that's why it was in the top 3. Because after that, it was too many.
because after that, then there's 4 and 5 and such.
Yeah, after that,
The
I got
other-
sick
the
of
other
doing
numbers.
the same thing over and over again until they reskinned it with Shadows of Mordor, and then I was okay for another one or 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I always like I have Heroes. I play tons of Heroes, and that's my multiplayer game. But I always like having a single player game on the side. So
cool.
I try to just do one at a time, knock my Steam list out, except for Battlefront, which forces me to install the Origin client. But we all do what we have to do and make sacrifices.
Multi, how about you?
You know, if you want a single player Star Wars experience, what you do is you buy one of those super crazy expensive lightsabers, the ones that almost look real because of just how well put together the hilt is, and then the blade, you can barely see the glass, et cetera, and you just wave it around in front of your face for a half hour.
Have I not showed you my crazy expensive lives? Oh no, never mind.
You have one of those like glass ones or whatever?
Maybe
Nice.
Do you? I know you have a portal gun, which is sweet.
I do have a portal gun.
That's one of the coolest things. My wife's even a huge Portal fan. No, otherwise, so game-wise, I do not keep a single-player game on the side. If there's not a person on the other side of a screen somewhere getting pissed at me beating them, I'm not happy enough. I have to be multiplayer in almost all things, and have been for like 5 or 6 years now. So, yeah, been playing a little bit of Hearthstone. It's kind of stale now, of course, because the Witchwood's about to come out, but those card reveals are getting sick, and otherwise, a little bit of WoW, a little bit of Heroes when I can squeeze it in for sure.
Excellent.
Still loving the Phoenix. I mean, and I think I still will love him whenever nerfs come, but it's been fun.
Inevitably, when something has like a 96% participation rate on HOTS logs,
Right.
and
What did you say the win rate was too? Like 60
it's
something.
62, I think.
It's like
it's
it was either like low mid 60s.
Yeah, and it's his ban rate. It's like 35,000 bans to like 7,500 picks. It's like, okay, that's
he's
might
okay.
Be a sign. Might be a sign.
Yeah. No, he really is on either side of every quick match and in no Hero League games.
Yeah,
that's about how it goes.
I'm glad you guys mentioned Star Wars though, because it just reminded me there's this sick game coming out for VR called Beat Saber or Saber Beats, and it's like Guitar Hero, mixed with lightsabers, and it looks awesome, and I need to pick it up. It's like
that's a winning combination.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But for myself, I got sucked back into a console game this week. It happens once a year. When baseball season starts, I gotta pick up my yearly baseball game and play some baseball stuff. So I've been doing that, as well as Fortnite, which I won't talk about. I play a lot of Fortnite now, but that game gets talked about way too much. And then as well as Heroes, still been playing a ton of Tracer and Fenix, but a lot of Tracer, trying to feel her out since her changes. And thanks to Shardstorm, I had asked last week if anyone had any more experience or had played Tracer a lot before the nerf and kind of right into it to really feel how the changes were. He had been chatting with somebody hovering around Grandmaster 50 this season with a 78% win rate on Tracer. And pretty much TLDR, according to that gentleman, she seems to be buffed quite a bit. So her frontline harass is much stronger. You do have to get used to, of course, the timing between her blinks, the increased cooldowns. But her build switched up a little bit too. And just kind of going more auto attack. And you can tell a difference. I'm starting to get the hang of her. I still die smashing my E when I think it should be up and there's 2 or 3 seconds left on it, which feels bad.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think just playing more games with her, I'll start getting used to it, get it sussed out. But I really do enjoy her. She's cool.
I need to try her again for sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm heavy into the Assassins again. I've kind of fallen away. I still play ETC and Firebat a little bit, but Assassins where it's at. Well, let's go ahead and hop on in. First, we have patron updates. We had Ethan H. last week, who became our newest patron and earned his Zord title. So without further ado, if I can find it. You have been deemed worthy of bearing the Zord title. Welcome to the Zord Lords. Bro Zord, welcome to the Zord Lords. We always need a Bro Zord.
I don't think there's ever been one, which is super weird. Like that just feels like a name that would have been used
something
by
that should have happened at some point.
Yeah. Or anyone, but no.
Yeah.
Bro Zord.
There you
go.
If I hadn't had Gizmo Zord since like, I don't know, middle school or whatever, I probably at this point in my life, if I became a Zord, it'd probably be Bro Zord. So I can dig it. But thank you, Bro Zord, so much for your support, as well as all of our other patrons out there. We really do appreciate it. And just a quick reminder, you should have received an email or message asking for feedback if you want to participate in the next art creation. So make sure and check that out. Now the news. All right, quick reminder. PAX East.
One more time.
Yes, is tomorrow. So there's a good chance if you're listening to this, it happened. But if you're listening to this live or if you're listening to this Thursday morning, April, what would that be, 5th? Yeah.
Right.
Get over to Twitch, because at 9:30 Pacific or 12:30 Eastern, Heroes will be doing their PAX panel, of course, talking about the lore and kind of what goes into the creations and the new unlikely, that's the word,
Unlikely. Yeah.
Unlikely, yes.
hero that will be joining us, which feels good. It was so long last time that it feels really quick this time.
I actually
kinda cool.
looked
Yeah,
back.
the gap between.
Our last Hero of the Week episode was episode 153.
So 7
we're on
episodes
160. Ooh.
Yep. That's how
That is
long
brutal.
it's been.
Mm-hmm.
That's
7 weeks.
It was a big gap.
Because we always do it on the week after the hero
Yep.
releases
I
live.
always do it
so-
on the week after.
But that panel is going to be moderated by Jeff Kanata, and it's going to feature Matt Villers, the lead hero designer, Kevin Johnson, the creative content lead, and K.O. Milker, the production director. So I'm super excited for that. Hopefully, I think we'll be a slow at work, so I may be able to check it out live. If not, I don't know if I'll avoid Twitter or not until I can go home and see it.
I'd have to if I missed it, but since it's 11:30 Central, I think I could cut out for lunch probably, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's the plan. I will be watching it live, and I will probably be yelling things on Twitter, which is typing in all caps.
I'll probably be yelling things in person in a really crowded lunch area.
Good.
We're talking
You should.
100+ people. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Good.
It's gonna be good.
Excellent. Well, since, typically, and we knew this obviously when we started doing our live shows. Just kidding, we didn't. Wednesdays are the day to do Heroes of the Storm podcasts because everything comes out on Wednesdays. And this isn't. This is a Thursday. But, we tell you we do a show Wednesday night. We're going to do that show Wednesday night. We're not going to push it back, make you wait another day. We know some of you count on us to get you through your commute on Thursday mornings. And,
Plus, that would require flexible schedules, which
Nope.
none of us have.
we could totally do this.
Oh
Tomorrow.
yeah, I mean, we totally could have done it another day.
We could have Ro on and co-record Hearth Casual and Lords of the Storm in the same sitting.
Yeah.
It could be done.
There
It
you
could
go.
be done.
But again, since most of you will be listening to this after the announcements have been live, we're going to take a moment and react to those announcements.
Guys, can you believe how big that PAX announcement was?
Oh my gosh. I have never seen a hero like that ever. Blows my mind.
You remember the scene in Indiana Jones where they opened the Ark of the Covenant and people's face melted? My face did that
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
during the
yeah.
live.
That
My
sounds
face
messy.
melted.
Yeah, it
Was a little messy.
it's definitely the most unlikely hero. I never would have seen that coming,
No
except
question.
maybe I did. I don't know.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
I mean,
what
we guessed a lot, and there it is.
Yeah.
I really like the direction they're taking the lore of the game. In particular, I liked it when the one guy on the panel talked about things. I thought that was very interesting when he brought up the points that were interesting
Yeah.
He was very fluent, like in
in
Hero-
English
and
and
English.
in English, which was impressive
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
I really like when Matt Villers, the lead hero designer, talks, because he just shows so much cool stuff. He gets really excited about the heroes that he talks about, and he just goes into detail quite a bit. And that's what made this release fun for me.
Yeah. And
Right.
as much as we really want to dive into this stuff super deep right now, we just have so much to talk about.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're just unfortunately gonna have to push that to next week. But
It's true.
just know
we'll do a deep dive
just
on
know
all this new information.
we love everything that was announced, and it was insane.
So
It was
cool.
face meltingly insane.
I literally have no words for it.
None.
because
done.
because we don't know what to say.
Yeah, we have no idea what to say because this announcement was just so mind blowing.
And this hasn't gone on too long at all.
No,
We could just
I don't think so.
keep doing it.
I think this was a fantastic idea, personally.
Yeah. I feel that's really all that needs to be said right now.
Yeah.
Until they
That's
release
all that
more
can be said.
information.
Until I
Yeah.
can pick my jaw back up off the floor.
Exactly. It'll take at least a week.
Yes. Okay. So there is also some new Twitch Prime loot coming to the Nexus, which we've had a couple times in the past, I believe. Now, if you connect your accounts, you will get a legendary loot chest for April. And there's some cool stuff coming in the future months as well. In May, we will get 5 rare loot chests plus the glitch steed, which looks like a horse with like a knight's, I don't know what you'd call that, horse tablecloth thing under it.
Yeah,
for like
it's
when
like
you're jousting. A horse dress? I don't know.
it's the jousting cover. I don't
The
know.
horse dress.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a horse
Honestly,
dress.
Yes, the horse dress.
The horse dress. No, he kind of reminds me of the grand tournament in a way, or like the Argent tournament in color scheme with like the white and purple, and it's kind of checkered, and it's a lot like the Halloween models with the blankets, but this one has a, I don't know, it's okay.
Yeah, I think
It's okay.
It could go cool with some certain skins. And then in June, you will get 5 more rare loot chests, which is neat. And
I had just canceled mine like last month, and I'm starting to regret it. I don't really use it for anything else though, so I mean, this
You
has
get
been
a
nice.
lot.
But
I just gotta say, for Twitch Prime stuff, you get a lot of neat things from that. Like a lot of times, I forget that I have Amazon Prime until I order something,
order
which I
something,
only do
yeah.
a couple times a year. But then, like, you get so much cool stuff. Like, I got the Devil's May Cry high def collection for free. You get a bunch of cool free games, and most of the games that they release content for, I have. So I like it. But yes, make sure if you do have your Prime account that you do connect those. You probably already have, but just a reminder so you don't, start doing it and then get distracted by a podcast you have to do and forget to do it later, and then it's too late. You don't want that to happen.
No, that'd be silly.
It would. And
You'd probably feel super terrible.
You'd
if
have
you
no
did
one
that.
to blame but yourself, unless it was me. Then I can blame CTR. Also, in news this week, Nate Valenta Spirian, good old community manager, went to the forums, and in the coming months, they are planning to end support for DirectX 9 and the 32-bit version of Heroes of the Storm. It doesn't mess with me at all, but I have heard of a lot of people that have issues with the 64-bit versions.
So there's apparently still a pretty bad bug
Yeah.
with the 64-bit version that some people get after playing for a few hours. It gets super stuttery and
oh, really?
memory or crashes or something. There's a big Reddit thread on it right now, and so hopefully they'll address some of those concerns, especially on Reddit. They usually are pretty good about posting in some of the big concern topics and whatnot, because this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Taking an entire client and DirectX version compatibility away, even though technically both of these are super, super, super old.
Right.
But that's part of what's been good about Heroes, as well as many other Blizzard games, is that they run on such a diverse amount of software. But at the same time, you have to remember that from a compatibility standpoint, the more Windows versions that come out, the more DirectX versions that come out, graphics drivers, etc., is that much more stuff Blizzard has to test and keep up to date.
Right.
And so my guess is part of the reason they're doing this is just to cut off a massive regression testing and support that they have to do for this legacy stuff so that they can put those resources elsewhere.
Well, and doesn't it open up in like a small way design space as well as like art direction a little bit because they don't have to make all of the new animations to work on the previous systems, et cetera, et cetera. They can just run with the 64-bit client. I don't know any of this stuff from a technical
I think
standpoint.
there's more feature set and things you can do in, say, DirectX 11 that DirectX 9 does not support. So in doing this, you can much easier or have a much easier time standardizing on a particular graphics system or using particular techniques that might not be available. And so you're stuck using the legacy versions of those. And maybe the newer versions are better optimized or look better, that type of thing.
I have no idea what either of you were just talking about. I have a computer. I just push buttons on it to make it do things.
Turn it on and type.
Yeah, but like I said, my computer fortunately hasn't had any issues, but seeing posts and responses of all the people that have had issues or for one reason or another can't use the 64-bit DirectX 11, hopefully there is a fix for them, that they'll have a way and that it doesn't impact a large chunk of the player base.
I actually
That would really suck.
Yeah.
I actually have been having stuttery memory problems lately, and it comes and goes. I don't know. I'll have to check into how to fix that up. But yeah, when I do the Control-Alt-F, my mem is often pretty high.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
it's apparently a thing. It's apparently a thing.
So that's not me. I don't have to delete half my computer to free up memory.
No, apparently not. There's, and I linked it in our chat. There was a big Reddit thread today on the 64-bit has a big bug in it that a lot of people were contributing to. So I think they said they were getting rid of it in July. So there's still time. There's still a few months.
And they're planning to. So if something happens,
if something happens, they may push it back.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is exactly what happens to me, huh? Okay.
Well, would you look at that?
Good.
Hey, you can play the 32-bit version for a couple months, so
Maybe
if you want to,
your issue and then go away.
Yeah, exactly. So Dead Man's Stand with the new.
Greg, 1 second, and I'm sorry, I forgot to add this to the agenda, but I think we need to just discuss a little bit about how there was no April Fools this year.
I know.
Which, for most things, I don't care, because April Fools for me is kind of one of those, you can take it or leave it. But when you actually put like cool April Fool's stuff into a game, that's a whole different thing than announcing this completely fake product that is actually super awesome and everyone wants, but they're actually really not going to make it.
But they didn't even do that, right? There wasn't even like a fake
there's no patch notes or anything. Yeah.
I mean, we guessed that it was Easter, and you
I was
don't want to
surprised
work on Easter.
They didn't put out that Heroes was getting a Battle Royale mode. Since every single other game used that as their April Fool's joke.
Yeah,
I just have to say that.
I hope.
Haha,
one
guys,
of these days,
super funny Battle Royale.
I hope one of these days they bring back Big Head mode, whether it's for an April Fool's or if we can at some point, once like the sandbox mode gets better, if we can toggle it on in there. Custom games, just somewhere. Bring it back. It was so good.
I wonder if they're not doing it because it's somehow tougher to do now, like with some of the new heroes. I'm not sure. But I was hoping for that or something. But,
I wouldn't think so, because WoW always does those really funny fake patch notes.
Yeah, those are always good.
Always put out. And
they had those like they had those real mounts. I don't know if you saw those, the live animal mounts and the chicken.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
They always do a pretty good job. But for those who weren't around, this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
It was the first April Fool's that it was
out in beta. I think it was beta maybe. They did something called Big Head mode, which all the heroes in the game, all the skins, everything had their head sizes increased by like 3 or 4x, and it was the funniest thing ever, especially on certain skins. look like bobbleheads,
Monkey Brightwing.
Yep.
pretty much. Monkey Brightwing.
Well, Monkey Brightwing
Was-
wasn't funny. It was
No, it was
terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
But
then-
I've been waiting for them to do it every single year, and it hasn't been done since. And I am guaranteeing everybody right now that at BlizzCon I will get in line for whatever the Heroes Q&A panel is, and I will ask all of them. I will ask Alan point blank, where's Big Head Mode?
Please do. That's the pressing question of our time.
All right,
really
that is episode 160 at about the 29.5-minute mark. So go ahead and mark that so you can check it if he doesn't ask it. All right, now to the Dead Man Stand Brawl, the new PvE brawl that came out for the StarCraft 20th anniversary. I did my first go at it earlier tonight with
me.
Yep, and some others words. And I got to say, it's really neat. The one thing it does last a little longer than the last PvE one, which is fine, except I could have sworn in the notes about this brawl it said to get your chest, all you had to do is beat it once. That is not the case. You're gonna have to do it 3 times still, which is fine because it's a cool mode. But yeah, it does last a little longer.
You're not incorrect though. They did say
Okay.
on
Oh,
the little brawl page did say 1.
Yeah.
And it's 3.
So we
Not that I mind playing it more than once. I mean, it is
No,
fun,
yeah, it's cool.
but
Gul'dan is incredible at it because his talent to where you can click on a minion to kill the minion and get health back. You can use that on like the big minions that aren't hero class, but still the bigger ones, and it one-shots them, which is nice. But yeah, we did it once, and I think we finished it with core health at like 55 or 56%, which I've only done it once, so I can't really compare. But I enjoyed it.
mine's typically landed in the 50s as well, just because I found that unless you're on a team that really focuses on how to rotate between the lanes to intercept the waves, and in particular, like how you handle the final set of waves after you've killed the 2, I forget what they're called, the infested
Archangels.
things. Yeah. If you can manage that, then that's where I think you're probably making the biggest difference in your percentage. But I mean, honestly, like, and this is the normal version, so obviously things are going to be a bit different in the heroic when that drops. But I mean, it's doable. It's digestible. I don't think you have to work too crazy hard together to pull it off. I think I've only ever seen people die a couple of times, as long as you at least have a healer that works with you and such. I will say it has some similarities to the Escape from Braxis, just insofar as like a lot of the heroes that were good in that one are also good here. You're thinking about like, people who have good wave clear, good self-sustained. Your Gul'dan's a perfect example. Blaze, if you guys haven't tried him, so good because you just stand in your fire and heal and kill everything. So that's cool. But yeah, this one, I mean, of the 2, like to compare it to Braxis, this one had more of a StarCraft feel, I think, because you open up, the mini-map even looks super StarCrafty, in that you can only see a certain area and then you see the incoming waves, and like eventually, they try to nidus into your base and all this stuff, and it was super flavorful for the StarCraft 20, I thought.
Yeah, it feels like a miniature StarCraft campaign in the fact that, here's this map, you don't have vision of it, but here's, you're trying, in StarCraft, you'd be trying to build up your base at this point. Then you have all these Zergling waves incoming, and then after you take care of them, you want to go to certain points of the map to take over, control, or defeat the enemy, which is these Archangels, which is it is really neat. And the announcer pack is cool. It makes me kind of want to buy her as an announcer pack, but I also...
Oh, no. The voiceover was incredible. Like, I love at the beginning when she's like, we know we are criminals, but we deserve to live, right?
Mira Han, is that her name? I believe.
Is that it? I'm not sure. But
Myra Han, the pink-haired chick. But I also really want and I can't think of the name of it now. I had it until last week. It starts with a C. It's like the original StarCraft announcer. She's like a white robot with the people used to cosplay as her. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Chat.
StarCraft lore 0.5.
Help us, chat.
I knew
Wicked.
I had space for that, and then I remembered the Mirahan, and then the adjacent.
Adjutant.
That's it. Didn't start with a C. I was way off. So thank you, Half Note, because I never would remember that. I would have spent the next 30 minutes going over C names in my head. But yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it, and I'll be doing more. And I think we have our answer to how they're going to do leaderboards, and that is what % your base health is at the end, which is a cool way to do that. TBK, what are your thoughts on it?
I loved it. I've played it several times now, and I haven't failed it yet. We did have one where one dude just went off on his own and started killing the little base things in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And we survived that one with 2.5% left.
Wow.
So that one was a little rough. But otherwise, I really like it. All the archangels have boss fight mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Very reminiscent of the last PvE one, or if you play WoW raids. There was all sorts of stuff you had to dodge, especially the one that did the oil slicks and rotated. That thing would kill you real quick if you got in those beams. They went down pretty quick, so I just assume heroic mode, you'll really get to interact with those mechanics a lot more so than you get to now, because especially if your group is made up of the right heroes, you can take those things down real quick. Sonya, amazing.
Oh, I believe that. Oh,
You can
post-buff.
keep your rage going indefinitely during the end waves. It's absolutely bonkers. Our best one that I've gotten so far, and send us in your best times, because I'm really interested to see
please.
kind of what the average is. My best one was 91.4%.
Nice.
That's pretty
health
good.
left.
So what was the trick then? Did you just like really watch the base in the final phases, or like do you go out to meet the wave? That was another thought I had.
Yeah, so we did a split. Capturing the merc camps helps a lot, because that can make your play around the bases a little easier. We split 2 and 3 at first, and then we went up and met the waves before they even got to the base. And with the right heroes, you can actually knock those out, pretty quick. Grab the mercs. We go take care of the archangel. You fly back. You do basically the same thing. Go take care of both the 2 and 3 archangels. Then fly back. And then from there, we went 2 and 2 and left one person in the base to be on
just play goalie.
base clear duty, because in the base, in the third phase, the Nidus networks spawn, and stuff is continuously going into your base regardless of whether you're holding the other 2 waves off or not. And so having 1, maybe even 2 people in the base, if you have a good enough solo person to clear waves, like a Sonya, like maybe a Twin Blade Varian, maybe a Gul'dan, he might be able to survive it.
No,
he might
wouldn't.
be a little too squishy when the enemy heroes come, but that's kind of was our strategy and how we did it.
Nice.
And if we had focused on it a little more, we probably could have even gotten a little higher percent than that.
With so much splitting, should we even be taking a healer? I mean, I could see like Karazim or somebody, but
I bet it could be done.
I don't think you need one.
Yeah, without...
honestly, not in normal at least.
Heroic, you almost certainly would, but
like just take it as long as you take the self-sustain heroes. I didn't really see a whole lot of damage, and then maybe a little bit at the boss fights. It'll probably be a lot more important in heroic to have a healer for the boss fights, because there'll probably be a lot of secondary damage coming out. But most of it was super avoidable, and I didn't even really feel like you needed a healer as long as you had a team with decent self-sustain.
Yeah. The merc camps are really cool because they drop the power-ups as well. Like there's mini nukes.
Yeah.
The other camp, I think, drops like these mini, I forgot what they're called, but they're like miniature kind of pulse bomb
there's
type
heal
things.
pulses, and then there's like it's not named stim pack, but it gives you like attack speed and
Well, and
movement speed and such.
there's another
Yeah,
one
the team-wide attack speed.
I feel like if your
And
team
there's
kind
the
of
psi emitter.
yes, that one. If your team kind
Yep.
of stocks up on those for the end portion, it makes clearing those waves really easy because that attracts everything to it to attack it, and then after like 4 seconds, it blows up and does 1,000 damage to everything. But yeah, Gul'dan can solo a lane really easy. Like I could stand in some of the boss mechanics and just stand there and life drain from them, and they weren't doing anything to me. So it's cool.
I mean, I was healing you too, but
For like 4 health every quarter second. Yeah, I know.
Lucio P. That's all I'm saying.
But it's fun. I do enjoy it. So excited to see what the heroic version is like and if they continue to do these PvE type things.
I love
I
them.
think they should. Yeah.
More PvE, please. It's really fun.
And the next one, not StarCraft themed. Like I really want the Diablo Greater Rift brawl.
That would be really cool.
That would be
Actually,
cool.
running a Greater Rift in Heroes.
Yeah.
That could be kind of neat.
The other thing to take away from this too is that if the bosses have really interesting boss mechanics, as these do, could we probably expect to see better boss mechanics on future actual maps, like more along these lines?
There could be
I think
something
so.
that's not even boss related, but objective related.
Yeah, right.
Kind of like for the skull golem or whatever on man, why can't names are escaping me on everything. Haunted
Yeah.
Mines, Grave Golem. There we go. That's skull.
I'm just
golem.
thinking, like, imagine having to line of sight like you have to do in that one boss where they have the like 4 pillars they have to stand behind. Imagine having to do that while also having an enemy team fighting you
Yeah.
at the same time.
and have be
And
That
they
could
have
be
to adhere to it
really
as well.
interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be super fun.
Yeah, that could be really interesting.
like for Haunts, for Lucio Blast to get him out from it, condemns. There's
Yeah.
Tons
Oh
of
yeah, you
things you
boop
can
them
do.
into the blast
Hooks.
like right on time. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be
That's
just
cool.
like Overwatch, boop them into holes.
Yep.
But yes, so that's it on kind of the new stuff that we've seen here. Surprisingly, I'll mention this now: no balance patch this week.
Very surprising.
Which I don't know if it's just the team's been really busy getting ready for PAX or if they had an extended break for Easter or anything like that. But yeah, super surprised we didn't see any more Fenix balance notes this week. So probably next week. We'll see. A Reddit discussion has been happening on the current state of supports. And this is really interesting because I haven't played much support, never really have, besides when I first started the game. Have been playing Lucio a little bit lately, but I don't have a bunch to throw into this conversation, which is why I found it really interesting kind of reading through the comments. But this was a Reddit post by Riddlemaster titled, "Is Abathur seeing play as a solo support a sign that healers have gotten too weak?" He points out that while watching HGC lately, he can't help but feel dismayed listening to casters say a team has been choked out of supports after a team picks Malfurion and bans Stukov. Because there's 12 heroes in the game, plus Tyrande and Tassadar. Disappointed that pretty much we're saying 10 of them aren't even an option. And plus, we've seen Abathur in a few games as a solo support, in quotations. Because obviously he's
It's
not
crazy.
a support. Yeah.
You can do a little healing and shielding, but
Yeah. So the question kind of comes, have healers gotten too weak since the support nerfs we got several patches ago? If we're starting to see no support comps in the highest level of play, is that an issue? And what parts are too much? So I know both of you play quite a bit of support. What are your guys' kind of expectations on this? Are you?
I think. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, has your hero pool been limited as far as your supports? Do you feel it in games that you're playing? Like, are you a target for dives too easy? I don't know. What's your stance on it?
I've kind of been taking up support as a more or less main thing. I mean, I flex around a little bit, of course, and when I get in Hero League, I'll just flex to whatever. But yeah, I mean, since this, I wouldn't say that, Malf and Stukov are the only two, of course. I still find some success with Brightwing and a couple others, but it is true. I mean, there are some that just don't feel good. And he cites Tyrande and Tassadar as being the ones that, are healy, but not necessarily like a solo healer. Those I kind of understand. I would like to see a little bit of a healing buff to Tyrande just so I could play her a little bit more. But some of these other mid-range ones, like I haven't even really sat down to Rhaegar in a while. And I've squeezed in some Uther, I suppose. But generally speaking, so I think that when they did the just blanket support nerf, they were, of course, trying to fight back against the double support comps that we were seeing left and right. And all of us were in agreement with that because during those portions of the HGC and even our own meta, when we saw that happening a lot, it led to some pretty stalematey team fights and had some issues for sure. So what they did was they tuned down both the healing and the damage of these supports. And the damage makes sense. I mean, one of the problems was you'd get people like Ariel who could put out some good healing, put out some really good damage and crowd control with like the detainment strike and everything. And it did become a little bit much. But, you know, I mean, I think the answer might be, at least for me, and you don't have to do it a ton, but I think if we tuned up the healing a little bit more, specifically maybe even on some of the healers that are, and I don't want them to become heal bots, but heroes that are a little bit stronger at healing in general, and that's their main focus. Think about like Lucio in a way. I know the speed boosts and the shielding and some of the boops are part of his deal, but in the end, you're trying to be an aura healer for sure. If he had just even a little bit of an uptick in either base healing, not even the number necessarily, but like the rate it comes out. We've talked about that in the past, how they could tweak not just, you know, going from 2 to 3, but maybe having those 2s come out slightly quicker as they tick, to just give them bigger healing across the course of the game. I don't know. I think something is weird right now. I'm kind of with Riddle Master here and thinking that they're a little bit weak, and I would like to see better diversity with them in general in HGC and my own games. So I'm kind of with him. Well, I'd be intrigued to go ahead.
And it sounds like a bigger portion of the issue that people are having through this post. The main thing that sticks out is the 5% health nerf, because we're kind of we're kind of back in a dive meta now with, you know, a lot of Diablo, Firebats, Maiev, Genji, Tracer, and the supports in question that aren't being played are just paper. And so, you know, they get back there and they die instantly and they're not able to put off any healing. To whereas Malfurion's kind of a tanky healer. Yeah, Malfurion's kind of a tanky healer. Stukov, he can push people back to kind of defend himself, and he has ridiculous healing on his own. So, and we've seen that rolled back on a few healer or supports. I know Brightwing, I think, got that 5% health nerf negated, and so she was back to normal. But yeah, the wave clear and stuff is still all down. So I don't know what the answer is to make it feel better and make those other supports viable. TBK, do you have any thoughts?
I think I understand why they did what they did with the whole support apocalypse thing in general. They just wanted to hit them all across the board because there were issues and double support was way too common. Now that the dust is settled and we've had a lot of play time, and I'm sure they have a lot of data now, I think honestly the biggest problem with it was the wave clear aspect. Almost all healers just had way too good a wave clear. And now that the nerfs have been performed across the board, the few that still had extra stuff and survivability on top of that are the ones that are standing out. The Malfurion, the Stukov, the Uther, the Rhaegar, who have decent healing numbers still and decent survivability, as well as mobility or stuns or whatever. And so I don't think we should bring any of the damage aspect back, but I would completely agree with buffing the health of some of these other healers, because I think some of them might need some healing numbers as well, because several of them have really fun kits and there's a lot of stuff you can do. But if the healing numbers aren't there and the health is not there, it can really dissuade you from wanting to pick it and, I guess, quote unquote, have all the good healers shut out really easily, just because of the bans we had. And we've been talking, and maybe this is one of the reasons Blizzard hasn't done 3 bans yet, is they're not happy with how the support situation is. Because if you are looking at it this way, you add 2 more bans in, it gets even worse. So they need to probably get another support or 2 out, and they need to get the rest of the supports in a viable position to where we're not seeing the same 2 to 4 healers in every single match. Because as a lot of HGC players will say, if something's better, they're just going to use it.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
It's not.
No, that's how it is.
That's just how it is, right? And so I think if they tuned up some healing numbers on a few, if they tuned up the health a little bit on a few, because the wave clear was such a big factor in that double support meta, I don't think buffing a little bit of health and a little bit of healing numbers will bring a double support meta back, simply because the damage / wave clear is not there, so it's not near as appealing to have those secondary characters who can do everything and do damage and do wave clear.
Right.
It would hopefully just open diversity with healers a little more.
Yeah, I can see that. And you made a good point on the fact of the wave clear, because, yeah, obviously they had good wave clear, but I never thought about it in the fact of, like, use Battlefield of Eternity, for example. The fact that they had good wave clears, you can send one of your supports down to soak that other lane, because they can just as well as another assassin, and then come back up and have the extra heals for the fight. If you bring their healing and health back up, but not the wave clear, well, then it's not worth taking that second support anymore still, because you're not going to send one of your assassins down there to soak that while having 2 supports up top. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point.
You're just missing out on too much damage as it is right now, which is, I think, the point, right? If your healer can do as much damage as your assassin, or almost as much, then you always will go with the healer, because they provide extra utility that the assassin does not.
Yeah.
Right. And that kind of was what the problem was turning into. I will say this, though. I don't want them to make it to where none of them have any wave clear, because right now it almost kind of feels like that. I feel like Rhaegar stands out in part because he still has it, and the rest of them just kind of don't. So I'm okay with the support that has a little bit of the wave clear, but tunes back some of perhaps the healing numbers. Okay, Tassadar, you could have an argument for yet again, but he's kind of in his own category there, and always has been, frankly. So yeah, there's definitely a balance they need to strike with all this stuff. I know we've heard in the past talk of, having some supports that deal specifically with armor or shielding and less healing, and thus maybe there'd be design space for a little bit of extra wave clear in a kit like that. I don't know. So we'll see how it shakes out. I think adding new heroes to the pool would help fix it, though.
Yeah. Yep. So, and it has been a while since they've kind of touched the sport since this went live, and they said they're going to keep an eye on it. So, hopefully maybe we'll see some updates soon, or maybe this Reddit post and others like it are going to spark enough attention to where we'll at least get some feedback on it, on what the plans are for sports previous and going into the future. Next up, we have the HGC. Almost said HDC. Don't know why. But we have the HGC. All right, TBK.
So coming up, Blizzard actually just released details of the Horizon Clash. And this is new this year for 2018. This is the test for would-be challengers from Taiwan and Southeast Asia. Teams from both regions will be playing through a series of qualifier matches starting on April 14th to determine the best team from each region. These 2 teams will travel to Taipei, where they will square off in a single best-of-7 match to determine who will move on to compete with the rest of the world at the mid-season brawl. So this will take place at the Blizzard Arena in Taipei with a $5,000 prize pool, and we'll both have English and Chinese broadcasts. So this is going to take place May 18th at 4 a.m. Pacific time. So
Totally
That's
fine.
7 a.m. Eastern. It's not
Yeah,
Awful.
so 7 a.m. Eastern, it's 7 games. So yeah, you could make
possible.
it. But yeah, it's their own mini clash before the big one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
That they get that going. Week 7 of the actual HGC. There's some new faces. Prismaticism, who was filling in with Simplicity as Arrow's replacement, will actually be joining the roster permanently. And Jin, who played with No Tomorrow as a temporary substitute for Jason in week 6, will also be joining No Tomorrow's roster permanently as well. So those 2 fresh new faces, and I believe Jin was on an open division team that was doing fairly well. So I believe the open division finals are happening now, like right now.
Yeah.
As of recording, and so we should know who the 2 open division teams are from each region that will be moving into face the bottom 2 teams of each region for the Crucible a little later this year. So that should be a lot of fun. And then just kind of an update on the standings going into week 8. From a North American standpoint, Tempo Storm is on top, still commandingly with a 9-1 record. Team Freedom has moved down a little bit. They are now 7-3, with Heroes Hearth being the big name moving up now. They are in 3rd place, tied pretty much with Team Freedom
And
at
on a streak.
7-3 as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're on a
buddy.
streak. Team 12 has actually been dropping a little bit. They are now 6-4. Gale Force Esports is 5-5, and Simplicity is 3-7. Then No Tomorrow at 7th, and Looking for More Esports at 8th. And it's really weird because Looking for More, if you've been watching the games over the past several weeks, the record really doesn't tell the whole story because they've been making really, really good showings in a lot of their games. They've been winning single games and sets. They just haven't been able to close sets out. But they are improving. And I think I would still consider this probably the most competitive. The competitive gap between the teams is probably the smallest it's been.
Yeah.
For the most part.
No, I haven't had a ton of time to watch lately, especially with that move coming up. But this time I sat down to the GFE versus Team 12 match on Saturday. And if there's an NA set to watch, it's that one, just because, again, talking about small skill gaps, this was a close series. Like, pretty well throughout. Finished 3-2 with Gale Force on top, but they were going back and forth.
Yeah, there was a lot of actually really close matches this weekend. So if you get the time to go back and watch some of the VODs, this would be a really good weekend to do it. On the EU side, Dignitas looking pretty much like Tempo Storm with 9-1 record. Fnatic right below them with 7-3, and then it actually gets pretty close with the next several teams. Method and Zealots both at 6-4. Team Liquid at 5-5. And then we drop down to Tricked at 3-7, and then Diamond Skin and Leftovers both at 2-8. So every European team has won at least 2 sets. They also have a very small skill gap for the most part in Europe. Other than, for the most part, Dignitas just being up there, a lot of the other teams are very, very close. And so who goes to the clash could be very interesting, especially since Europe won the Western clash. I believe they get an extra slot.
Yeah, they get a bonus slot.
Yeah, for the mid-season brawl. And so that's going to be hotly contested throughout several of these top teams.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting as well, because we have 3 weeks left until the playoffs and Clash, and then the Crucible as well. So especially on the North American side, obviously Looking for More right now is only taken 1 set. But No Tomorrow and Simplicity, I think, are going to be fighting, and potentially, Gale Force is looking better now. They're on a 2-game win streak or 2-set win streak. but they're potentially in danger of going to the Clash as well.
You mean the Crucible?
Crucible, that's what. Yeah.
Crucible.
Yeah. No,
In
you're
danger
right.
of going to the Clash.
Yeah.
In danger.
I don't want to go.
I think they would take that danger.
I tell you,
Yeah,
Tempo
no.
Storm is really in danger of that right now. Like,
Yeah,
they don't
they
get
are
their act
super
together.
in danger.
Better watch it.
They are going to the Clash.
That's right. But yeah, no, there's still a lot of wiggle room for these bottom 4 teams, and things could potentially shift over the next few weeks for who's going to the Clash. So, and the Crucible in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's something to really keep an eye on, because the next several matches will be very telling as to who we will see. And I honestly have not gotten to watch the Open Division near as much as I've wanted to, just because there's so much Heroes to watch. There's a lot between it and Dorm and HGC proper. But from what I've been hearing and from what I've been seeing, there's several very, very strong Open Division teams. So whoever ends up having to play some of those teams won't be able to just rest on their HGC laurels. It'll be should be pretty good sets.
That's really good to see, because this is only going to be the second set of Crucibles that we've had. And we've already had teams, well, I guess third set, because there was 2 last year, make it in. And, if the competition obviously has been getting better in the HGC and people have been improving, but the fact that it's also improving so much in the open divisions show growth and interest in this game in esport, which is awesome and means only bright things for the future. So
The scene is still growing. I mean, I know everyone's talking about these battle royale Hunger Games.
no, there's no Heroes shop anymore. The game's dead.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, battle royale
it's-
games are fun, but
it's
not Heroes.
They are, but it's there's different games for different people, and some people love those and some people don't.
Mhm.
Some people love Heroes, and it is true. It feels like the game has definitely been on a slow, steady growth over a lot of its lifetime, especially recently, more so than just boom, it took off. Like it's very different from how a lot of the other Blizzard titles have been, which is not a bad thing. It's just a different thing for Blizzard.
What happens in
specifically.
Heroes, though, is people step away for a while, like even a year, and then come back and they're just like, this is an entirely new game. So
Mhm.
I think if we continue to see that kind of slow, steady growth, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I don't need big busts.
For sure.
So yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and hop into our Hero of the Week.
Hero of the Week.
It's been so long since I've hit that. I forgot how awful
I
that sounder
know.
sounds.
No, we're keeping it.
No, it's the
forever.
best sounder.
No.
Well, no, the welcome to the Zord. That's my favorite.
Okay.
That's true.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm actually proud of that one. This one, not so much. But yes, Phoenix.
They're both creepy, in all fairness.
Fenix has been out for a week now, so we've had time to hop in, test them out, check out some builds, and also not check out some builds because everyone's playing them, and it's still kind of a long queue time if you want to play him, unless you have a group, because he's really popular. He's the new kid on the block, and we will see what happens. But you can play, this build. You'll be able to play this build even after we see some balance updates for him. But
I would think.
yeah, his base kit is just really nice, really fun to play, and I think it'll be strong in a lot of situations. So real quick, we'll just go over his basic stuff, not spend a lot of time on it. His trait, of course, is the shield capacitor, where he has the permanent 800 shield, which regenerates at 80 per second after not taking damage for 5 seconds. His abilities, he has the Plasma Cutter, which is the cool laser circle around him. That'll go around twice, dealing 145 damage to enemies hit and slowing them. His W is weapon modes. You can switch between your little pew pew and go to your blah blah. I don't know if that's the right sound for that. Boom boom. There you go. It's a ball. Does AoE damage,
excellent
travels further.
description.
It's more of a like sheesh, sheesh. But sure. Sheesh.
Pew,
I'm
pew.
doing the best job.
The pew pew works. The other ones,
Yeah, those are
Work fine,
yeah,
too.
right.
and then his E is his warp, which is a warp. That's what that is. His heroics purification salvo, 75-second cooldown, channel for 1.5 seconds, sweeping a laser in front of you. It locks on enemies once channeling finishes. You shoot 5 missiles at each hero, and you do extra damage to slowed heroes. Again, Thrall, awesome person to play with. And then Planet Cracker, not World Cracker or Ritz Crackers.
Or cheese crackers.
Cheese
Cheese
crackers.
crackers.
You know, it's the
Cracking
Planet Cracker.
planets.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I
100
am
second
hungry
cooldown. After
Me too.
half a second channel, you shoot a powerful beam that makes cool noises and does 105 damage every quarter of a second for 4 seconds. It's a cool sound. Still one of my favorite in the games, I think.
Oh yeah.
What does it sound like? It's like bzzz.
No, it's more like
If we all make 3 separate sounds and then stack them on top of each other, we could probably make the sound. But
Shall we do it? You ready?
1,
Okay.
2, 3.
Okay. We've lost all the listeners at this point.
This episode, man, I don't know what's going on.
This and then the reactions to something that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good one. No, I think 160, man. Going in the books.
So this is
Anyway.
our last one. That's how it's going in the books. Don't
say that.
For his discussion here, we kind of have the 2 builds we've talked slightly about before, between his kind of stutter stepping auto attack, and then the one I prefer, which is built around his plasma cutter. And I think it seems to be the popular build to go to right now. So we'll kind of talk about both of those. For level 1 TBK, what are we going to be going with for the plasma cutter?
Oh, for the plasma cutter.
Cute
Advanced targeting, of course, for the plasma cutter build. So this is the quest talent where you hit enemy heroes with plasma cutter, which permanently increases Fenix's basic attack damage by 0.75 up to 75. And after you hit 30 heroes, plasma cutter circles an additional time. It's absolutely bonkers.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Like this
When
is
it's
what's
going
gonna
third
get nerfed.
Yeah.
This is gonna get nerfed, guys. I can almost guarantee that. So that's the Q build. The other one that I would recommend is the mobile offense, and this is after you move unmounted. Fenix's next basic attack deals 30% more damage to heroes. So this is basically rewarding you for stutter stepping, just in general with his auto attacks.
Mm-hmm. Especially getting the quick ones in for the rapid fire shots, the repeater cannon that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and these are cool. Definitely advanced targeting. You guys are 100% right. Once you get that quest done, it is a huge difference. Wave clear, damage against heroes. Like this I think is how he's topping some of the meters in both siege and hero damage. And then the other thing about it too is that like it just doesn't feel like, at least in quick match, which again is where you almost only see this guy, people aren't really playing around that yet. Like in my laning phase, it's pretty easy to finish that quest. Obviously, especially if you're in like a 1-4 scenario where you can just splash it on a bunch of people on the enemy side. But even if you're just like 2v2 or 1v1, people aren't really trying very hard to dodge your Qs, and they're paying for it.
Yeah, and I was prepared to say for this episode that, if you're in a composition to where you're going to kind of get stuck solo laning, don't go advanced targeting, kind of go the auto attack build with mobile offensive. However, I then played a Blackheart's Bay game right before this show, and I went advanced targeting, and everyone was bot lane, so I was soloing the 2 top lanes with advanced targeting, so I got my stacks pretty slow. However, I once I got my 30, like the top 2 lanes, I was clearing no issue, and I was at like 19,000 experience when the next person was at like 9,000 because I was able to clear those waves so fast and rotate. It was absolutely ridiculous. So it's definitely viable for that as well.
True. Here's the thing about mobile offense, though. So one of the things I've noticed on Fenix just in general is that he is super good at trading in lanes against a ton of heroes. And especially when he first came out, a lot of them didn't know that they would do so poorly against him. But mobile offense is honestly such a big power spike at 1, at least in terms of, again, getting off the repeater cannon shots. That like I had a game where I was up against a Nazebo who thought he was cool, threw a couple spiders and some frogs out at me, and my shield ate all of those. And then I just, like, every time he stepped up to me, I got him to a quarter health before he ran back behind the gate with mobile offense. So
yeah.
So there's a different approach to those two. I'd say, yeah, I mean, I think we're onto something here, like feeling out the early lane phase, trying to plan out what your goal is in that particular game and who you're up against, and going from there the rest of the game, maybe.
Yeah, and I've seen just as good of success as far as damage numbers with mobile offensive as I have with advanced targeting. The coolest thing I think they have done with this hero, especially for these 2 types of builds, is it's 2 complete different types of play styles. Like it's almost like playing 2 different heroes whenever you go these separate builds, which I love.
Yeah, and that's the thing too that some people don't realize is that Fenix can trade insanely well. So because of that shield, I think we talked about it last week. It goes from 0 to full in 15 seconds, and that's like 60% of his life bar, or 40% of his life bar, something like that. And so you can take all that shield damage and not actually have your health touched. You walk back for a few seconds, and boom, your health is completely full again, whereas the other person might not be. You can bait people so easily by having legitimately half health in your real health, but having a full shield. And if someone's not thinking about that, the trade can be very poor for them, just because they have to burn through that shield first before they can even touch your real health. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're laning too, that use that to your advantage to bait people into traps. We've done that several times in games I've been in with Fenix, like throwing him out as like the sacrificial lamb, only to find out he's got the teleport and he's got that full bar of shield, even though his health looks low.
Yep. No, yeah, so he doesn't worry as much about health as some other heroes that he's laning against. He doesn't worry about mana at all because he doesn't have it. And on top of that, he physically bullies most of them out of the lane anyway. Like, just outclasses them in terms of damage and escapability, and something's got to give. I'm just saying. Yeah. Something in one of these categories is going to give very soon.
Yeah, for sure. For level 4, Multi, where are we going with? Both of these kind of work with both builds that we're going. So.
Yeah. So we're splitting between one is Emergency Protocol, for sure, which is when Shield Capacitor's shield becomes depleted, gain 30% movement speed for 5 seconds, which we can talk about in a second here. The other one to touch on is Warp Conduit. So that is one in which hero takedowns reset Warp's cooldown. So obviously, both of these affect mobility. I am a fan of Emergency Protocol just so much that, like, again, I mean, if your shield is down and you're retreating, the 30% movement speed helps you retreat. But I've also found there's an added bonus to it where a lot of times when you break out into a team fight, you know how it kind of goes. Like, the team fight breaks out, you get in a few scuffles, maybe someone flanks you, the Kerrigan jumps in on you, you port away, blah, blah, blah. You go back and forth. If you start to win that team fight, then, you know, possibly your shield's been popped, but you've got a little bit of health. Maybe you have a healer next to you. You can use the Emergency Protocol to chase them down. And that, honestly, is, I think, the main reason you'd use Warp Conduit as well. It's again the one where hero takedowns reset the warp's cooldown. So like I can't think of too many situations, and correct me if I'm wrong if you guys have experience doing this, but that you would want to kill a hero and then just use your warp extra cooldown as an escape. I'm sure there's moments, you pick that one guy off, and in that exact moment, Diablo pops out of the brush and tries to charge you. Yeah, I'm sure it could save your life in those scenarios. But what I'm saying is, I would think Warp Conduit would be more of a use of kind of like almost having a Li Ming feel of I've gotten a kill, I can now warp forward to follow up with more kills and chase. So my point is, I guess I'm trying to make is that you could chase with both of these. It just seems like Emergency Protocol is the safer one that you'd get more value out of. And that's why if you're looking at it on Heroes Hearth, Emergency Protocol is at 48%, Warp Conduit is at 8%. But we've heard across the board, a lot of people are swearing by Warp Conduit. In part, actually, there's a talent coming up next tier that affects your attack speed after doing a warp. So there's possibly something there, but I don't know. Have either of you guys have a lot of Warp Conduit experience here?
Oh yeah, it's exactly like you're describing. It's very much a Li Ming feel. So it allows you to use your warp offensively to finish kills off, and then once you get that reset, you can decide, okay, now do I use it continuing offensively, or did I jump in to get that kill real fast and then jump right back out again to stay safe? So that's normally what I use it for. I'm a big Li Ming player myself, and so I found myself kind of using that. You jump into combat, you kill somebody, you've got that up now, then you can jump in again. You've got your cutter is spinning, your auto attacks are going off, and then if things look bad, you just use that extra to bamf out of there, and boom, you're good.
Yeah, you just got to know you're going to kill somebody, otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Right, because you've wasted your. It's like Vala's vault,
Yeah.
Or Tychus's dash thing in that sense.
Yes. Level 7 here is kind of going to be situational just based off of which build you're going. If you're going to be going the Plasma Cutter Q build, then we have Combat Advantage here, which is the next thing that makes this nuts. Makes it where Plasma Cutter deals 50% more damage to slowed targets. So your Plasma Cutter already slows, so now if you hit them again, which you probably will, it's going to do 50% more damage. This also works against minions, mercs, that type, so it increases as wave clear as well. If you are going kind of the auto attack build, then you can go Divert Power Weapons, which is a 20-second cooldown activatable. In this, you activate to instantly drain shield capacitor shield, but increase basic attack damage by 80% of the shield drained for 5 seconds. So that's also pretty good if you're doing those auto attacks. Makes your repeater cannon super quick. You just got to be careful with it.
That's the all in.
Yeah,
that seems
you are
dangerous.
100% committed to the killing when that goes off. So you need to. It's great as in combo with that because it's a finisher. So you can warp in, drop your shields, and just put out massive amounts of burst damage, and then have a get out of jail free card after you get the kill.
So you got your movement speed. But then there's also Warfare. Which after arriving with Warp, you gain 125% attack speed for 4 seconds while in repeater cannon mode. So this can work well with the auto attack build as well. But it can also, a build that we're not talking about tonight, but that I've had friends play, I haven't tried it yet, that say it's a blast, is kind of a, get it? More of a really fun build. And that involves kind of mixing it up between your repeater cannon and your phase bomb. No, not phase bomb. What's it called?
Yeah, phase bomb.
Yeah, phase bomb.
The other
for damage, and just getting the attack speed kind of makes the swap between those two much faster. So could be fun as well.
I like Warp Warfare. What it does though is it makes you want to warp more often just for the sake of getting the attack speed off, and then you get yourself in situations where you've overextended, etc. But I mean, Warp Warfare with repeater cannon, when you're murking or helping out on a boss fight, for instance, is nuts.
Well, and with just Warp Conduit.
Roast. Yeah.
Get in there, keep finishing people off.
Yeah, for sure.
There's something there. Even though those two are the lowest picks here on Heroes Hearth, Warp Conduit into Warp Warfare, they synergize. So there's something there.
really well. For 10, the Ultimates TVK.
You can do both, honestly. Like, they're both good. Planet Cracker, I like taking it sometimes just because of the cool factor, but it's going to be it's really good for sniping somebody if you know where they are and they're at low health, but it really shines when you have something to follow up with it. Leoric Entomb is nasty with Planet Cracker. Even a Malfurion Root, Warden's Cage can also do it if you have Maev. And as I actually was playing with Bo last night from Core, and we did a particularly nasty Octograb Planet Cracker combo. And because of how long Octograb is, if we timed it right, we could pretty much 100 to 0 most squishies. Or if I had, gotten a third or fourth of their health down as Murky first, and then did that, he could, from anywhere on the map, target exactly where I was, and we could take somebody down. So that
Murky does fun. That much damage? Shots fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know.
I will say, if you are going Q build, you'll pretty much want to go Purification Salvo 95% of the time.
Slow extra damage.
Yeah, or if you have any synergy with someone on your team, think, again, Thrall with Earthquake is nuts. There's so many other slows out there. Here's the other thing, and again, so looking at Heroes Hearth, 84% for Purification versus 16% Planet Cracker. I think one of the deals here too is that, yes, I'm with you. Planet Cracker's the cooler one for sure, but I think that just the fact that you're standing back and unloading the straight beam could result in an overall DPS loss. In that, I mean, Purification Salvo adds a lot of damage anyway. Honestly, whether they're slowed or not, but obviously way more if they are slowed. But you're also you're still in the fight, so you're getting your scan off, which is honestly pretty easy to do to begin with. Getting those free shots off essentially from the Purification Salvo, and then you're still there. You're still chasing them down. You're mobile. You follow it up with another Q. You start landing a few more of your shots. And so I think that if you go back at the end of the day and look at the two, especially because Planet Cracker's beam is nice. It's pretty wide, and it definitely hurts when you're standing in it. But it's just narrow enough to where like a Vala could just vault out of it, or a Zeratul could just blink away, or anything like that. Or a few steps kind of gets you out of it, of course, too, if you're not CC'd by something in that sort of wombo way. So I don't know. Like I was a huge Planet Cracker guy at first, but I've started to just kind of switch to Purification Salvo in almost all scenarios, except definitely Braxis holdout. Yeah. So on Braxis, just go ahead and think of Planet Cracker as if it's a lava wave from Ragnaros, and it just wrecks. It doesn't, it honestly doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and lose the objective 100 to 0 because you're fine.
Because I remember somebody pointed out to us that it almost takes an entire wave down. Is that like a full wave? It almost takes the entire thing down?
Well, it's awkward because you kind of have to unleash it as the wave is approaching.
Yeah.
Because obviously if they're fanned out right along a wall, that's not going to get much. But you can do things like, and I've only encountered this a couple times now, but you could stand at like a certain angle to where you make sure you get all those. They're called guardians, I believe, the big crabby looking guys, the flying ones. Mm-hmm. So you can still, even if they're fanned out a little bit, you can get a good chunk out of them for sure.
Okay.
The best way to do it is to be right at the entrance as they are filing out. Because they will be all squished up. Yeah.
Oh, like they're in there.
Yeah, no, at the entrance that the enemy's ones are going to come out of. Because at the beginning they're all squished up as they flow out of the holding pin.
In a line, yeah. Yep. Would you wait a little bit? Because I don't want to just wipe Zerglings with this.
You wait a few seconds, but then you just fire it off, and you can do a massive amount of damage to that Zerg wave.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
All right. Multi for level 13.
13. We're going to go with Auxiliary Shields. And this is the one where you permanently reduce Fenix's maximum health by 10%. But increased shield capacitors shield by 20%. Basic attacks regenerate shields equal to 20% of the damage dealt. So this is, again, the deal where the shield capacitor is much larger than its health bar, just in general. So taking a 10% cut to health is totally #worth the shield capacitor increase. And then you have the ability to increase even further. So, I mean, it's just the mathematical right way to go. There's some other things on this talent tier that are okay. But again, okay, so you look at one of the least picked ones, the rapid recharge. Whenever Fenix is healed, the shield capacitor shield recharges for 20% the healing received. That can be cool, but since his health bar is so much shield and not as much health, how often are you really even getting value out of that compared to something like auxiliary shield? So,
yeah, it's like, do I want to gain 20% of something that regenerates in 15 seconds or quicker if I'm attacking and lose 10% health, or do I not want that? I want that.
Yeah, the only other one I could think of potentially taking, if you went some of the warp talents, would be the adenium, whatever it is. It's the shell that's made out of that stuff. And after you arrive with warp, you gain 40 armor for 4 seconds. This could very much synergize with the whole being offensive with warp, especially if you do have the extra attack speed on the warp talents, if you've got the warp reset when you kill people, because then you could very well potentially go on that mini like Li Ming killing spree, warping from point to point and taking 40% less damage for 4 seconds, which should be enough to stave off whoever you're trying to kill, because otherwise, why did you warp into a full health person to try and kill him?
Yeah, maybe.
Especially now that armor affects shields on shield breaking talents.
That is true.
It's
almost like they put that change in right before they released a hero that had a lot of shields.
Interesting. Level 16 here. We have a couple. You can go offensive cadence, which goes kind of with that warp build that I was talking about that we're not really going over. But I'm going to read it anyways because it's cool. Where every third basic attack against heroes while repeater cannon is active deals an additional 6% of the target's maximum health as damage. But the cool ones that we're going over, I like both for... both builds, really. I was, for the Q build, going Arsenal Overcharge, which Fenix basic attacks reduces ability cooldowns by half a second because you get more Qs out there. You have teleport down quicker, and it also affects his ultimate, which is really cool. But then I recently switched to Photonic Weaponry, where Fenix deals 15% more damage while he has a shield from Shield Capacitor. So that is awesome. If you're playing safe at this point in the game, you're going to know if people are getting to you quick enough, how fast your shield's going down. So you can kind of judge between the two. Obviously, you're not going to want to take Photonic Weaponry if you are going Emergency Protocol. No, not that one. What's the one where you activate...
The divert power
divert
weapons.
Power.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Those aren't going to mix well. But if you're keeping your shields up, Photonic Weaponry is just going to add a bunch more damage, even though you're not getting your cooldowns off as quick. But if your shields aren't lasting, Arsenal Overcharge is a great way to go.
True story. The synergy with auxiliary shields at 13, though, is nuts, because you get 20% more shields and the ability to regenerate it based on 20% of the damage dealt from auxiliary shields at 13. And then you deal 15% more damage while the shield's up. So the 15% damage feeds into your damage that you're getting to regenerate your shield, and you have more shield to begin with. So
seems good, man.
You don't have to. Yeah, you also don't have to work for them. You know, like offensive cadence, you have to be focusing a hero to get the value out of it.
Yeah.
This other one, you just do your thing.
Just do it.
He's got a really, really good talent tree.
Yes.
Honestly. Like, there's a lot of ways you can mix and match and synergize. And it's I think, Gizmo, you alluded to it earlier, it's almost different play styles.
Yeah.
But but very viable play styles and very viable builds, just depending on how much effort you want to put in, or the type, how aggressive or passive of a player you are.
Yeah. What type of comp are you going against? What map is it on?
I love heroes with talent builds like that. We've seen more and more of these lately, and I really, really like it.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, the numbers show here. These are still early numbers, of course, for sure. But again, citing Heroes Hearth. So you've got, even at this 16 talent tier, yes, 52% at photonic weaponry checks out. But I mean, the other two, 28% for offensive cadence, 20% arsenal overcharge. It means people are picking these and using them. It's not like we've seen on some heroes in the past. And okay, as we see it at rank 1 with 0% in arsenal synergy, the least synergistic one of all, ironically. But you know what I mean? Like in the past, we've seen some talents where, again, it has that split of like, oh, 90% take this and 0 and 10% take the other two. Here, there's a legit split.
Yeah.
So
I will
cool.
say Arsenal Synergy is what you go at 1 if you're going kind of the warp build. It can be pretty good. Just people on Heroes Hearth don't think so, that have been using this so far. And then level 20 TBK.
So level 20, I would say it's kind of situational depending on what you want to do. If you went with that Q build at the beginning, then secondary fire can be really, really good, because hitting an enemy hero with Plasma Cutter fires a purification salvo missile at them after a half a second. And it does exactly what purification salvo does on your ult, and it deals more damage to them if they're slowed.
Which they are slowed.
They are slowed.
They've just been hit by.
You hit them with Plasma Cutter. So they didn't really even need to add that, because it's always going to happen. But I guess technically you could get cleansed in that 0.5 seconds from your slow. So there's off chances, whatever. But most of the time you're going to be dealing the extra damage. So if you've really, especially those 2-lane maps where you're going to be up against a lot of people and hitting people with that Q on a fairly consistent basis, this can be an extremely strong talent. Singularity Charge is probably the other one I would look at. Repeater Cannon grants 200% more attack speed, and Phase Bomb grants 2.5 more range. This is huge. I mean, you already are getting a little extra range with Phase Bomb before, but now an extra 2.5. And then just think of Singularity Charge, and this is where some of his massive damage numbers are coming from, just from this talent synergy. 200% more attack speed, plus your divert power weapons or your auxiliary shields photonic weaponry combo that we talked about before. Like you're just putting out some insane damage numbers at level 20. And then finally, Unconquered Spirit. If you have been getting dived, or if you have been the focus of the enemy team all game, then Unconquered Spirit could be the way to go. It's got a 120-second cooldown, but upon taking fatal damage, Shield Capacitor regains 600 shields.
And so honestly,
stop death.
Yeah, I have to shout out Unconquered Spirit here, just in that, like, I think this is the direction that they should go with the slightly least picked ones at the 20 talent tier. Something where, like, you've identified that enemy team maybe's been 20 for a while. You're 22 against 20, and they've been focusing you, and they're starting to push your core. You still have a shot, but you've been focused a lot, kind of like you said, and you have an option now to say, all right, well, I've got this one get out of jail free card. Because at 20, 120-second cooldown is a long time. But, I mean, if you know that you're going to be in that situation again, and that makes the difference, and you turn the group fight, you've maybe won the game. So, I love that this, yes, while that's probably still going to be the least picked one because it doesn't, directly give you a DPS increase, it's an option. I could see people taking it in situations like that. Whereas, again, a lot of 20 talents we see out there, not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, super cool.
Excellent.
All around.
Yes. And we kind of went through tips and play styles and tricks as we were going through the build. But do we have any last things? I guess mine would be again, experiment with this hero, all the different builds he has, all the different synergies, because they're all excellent. And again, this stuff could switch up pretty quickly here, depending on what they do with him in the balance patch, which is probably coming next week since we didn't get it this week. But I imagine everything is going to stay pretty even as far as pick percentages and stuff on talents. If not, just kind of bring the Q build down a little bit and then raise other things to be more even. So really, really well thought out hero. Best kit and talent tree synergy I think we've had in a long time, if not ever. And just huge props to the heroes team and whoever, the team that designed this hero. Incredible.
Well, it's not just a cool kit. It's like a really interesting take on the ranged auto attacker, which is kind of an archetype that when you look across other MOBAs and that sort of thing is hard to really innovate in, and they've definitely done it here.
Yeah.
And because this kit's so interesting, I think that, and we've hinted at this a few times, I think that they'll probably have to tune some of these numbers down in a few of these different areas. But even when they do that, he's still going to have like a lot of utility. He's going to have the warp to escape and gap close and everything off of that. So I don't think, unless again, and I think I said this the other week too, but unless you tune his numbers down so much that he's just unplayable, I think the kit speaks for itself. He's going to see play, and he's going to be fun to play, and he's fun to play now. So my one tip I want to throw out there is just simply that, yes, the Q build is attractive. You can go that and be fine. You can go either route and be fine. But I think the way to truly figure him out, with which build you go, doesn't really matter. It's all about mastering the auto attacks, like switching between repeater and phase bomb. And it's because, in part, like the repeater cannon is really short range. So you kind of have to stick your neck out there to get a lot of shots off. And against some heroes, that's really dangerous. So there's I think, a nuance to perhaps even starting an approach with a couple phase bomb shots and then switching off to a couple repeaters and then back as a finisher. And I don't know. So it takes some feeling out. I certainly have not fully mastered this by any means. But I think that's going to be the trick, and I think that's where we're going to see the pros like really master. Like, how are we going to get the most out of these two firing modes? So that's all I had to say. TBK.
I agree, and just to reiterate from last week, in case you missed it too, from the Math of the Storm article, optimally, if you are attacking 1 or 2 targets, repeater cannon is going to get you the most damage, and if you're attacking 3 or more, then the photon cannon will get you the most damage. But there are situations where you will want to use the photon cannon regardless, because it does get you the extra range. True. And so if you need to poke, that can sometimes be a viable option to do otherwise. And then it's all about positioning for him, smart use of your warp. And I love the mechanics, the new mechanics around this, just the circle you can create around yourself, because you control the size. Yeah. You can make it super tiny or super big. And that's kind of free as you're moving too. So if someone's just right on you and you're running away, you can throw that circle down just right around you. Not only will that damage them, it'll also slow them. Mm-hmm. And so smart use and smart positioning of the cutter is key as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good call.
Yeah, he's so hard to dive because people do that. You just throw that ring around you, throw your ult on them, get some auto attacks, and then if they're not dead, you warp out. So fun to play. So fun.
Yeah, I had an Illidan focus me, and I just did the really narrow ring, and then it's like, I win.
See ya.
Sorry.
But yeah, the what was it? Math of the Storm that posted that TBK?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the biggest helpful tip for me in just understanding when to switch, because I've noticed a huge change, and it is really helpful. But again, try out all of his stuff. Let us know if you guys have tried any different builds. If anyone else has tried that warp build, I'm going to be sure and try that within the next couple days here, because I've had a lot of people talk about it, and it sounds fun. Lots of pew-pews. But we will keep you up to date on whatever changes happen to him and kind of walk you all through those. Let's move on to the community content shout outs. TBK.
So this week, two things. The first one, I wanted to shout out our good friend Kyle Ferguson. He's been doing a Learn to Play series, and he's done the bronze, and now he's done the silver, which is basically it's a video series focused on a per rank basis with tips for that specific ranking structure and how to climb. So, like I said, the silver version was just released recently. He's done a bronze version already. I believe he intends to do all the way through master as well. So I'll have the link in the show notes. Definitely check those out. If you're a bronze or silver player looking to progress out of those ranks, and if you're higher, gold, plat, whatever, be looking for that video series, because he does a really good job at breaking down the actual, okay, this is what platinum players do. Be watching for this. And use these specific tips for climbing out of this specific chunk of ranked.
That's such a cool idea, because they're often
it's a great
different
idea.
Metas, and like you have to react to your partners differently and expect different things out of them. Like that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then secondly, I wanted to shout out Tempo Psalms Heroes Library. He keeps this absolutely massive Google Doc, and it's got a bunch of builds, it's got a bunch of tips, it's got a bunch of tier lists for maps, and he keeps it updated for the different patches and everything. So go check that out, especially if you are mainly an assassin player. There's a lot of good info, and then just in general from a tier list perspective and map tier lists and whatnot, extremely helpful. Lot of information that a lot of people probably don't know exists. So the link for that will be in the show notes. I highly recommend you check it out.
Yep. And I like the fact that he keeps this updated even when it's not necessarily updated. He'll put outdated next to it, or kind of outdated, until he gets around to updating it.
Just to let you know, yeah. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Really neat. All right, we have some questions to get to this week, so let's go ahead and hop into emails. All right, Multi, our first one here from Kadzin. Why don't you go ahead?
Yes, indeed. Okay, I thought you were going to follow that up.
I was going to, and then I stopped.
Fair enough. Okay, so Kadzin writes, and this is a bit of a follow-up from a previous one in a way. Hello, Zord crew. Before the big PAX reveal, I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents. I know a lot of people put their money on Kane, but I personally think there's another Blizzard property that's underrepresented and that's Blizzard classic. If you ask me, an unlikely hero would be Kyle Blackthorn from the Blizzard's 1994 game Blackthorn. He is an unlikely hero since he gets thrown into the fray and out of his element, and the hero part is just that you can go through the game murdering everyone, innocents included. That being said, he does fit my much-hated human with weapon design. He was, again, the guy who wrote in about that. So he says, never mind, forget what I just said. Who would you like to see besides Kane? Keep up the great work, Kadzin. So first of all, I'm going to combine that last question with the next one about who we'd want to see besides Kane. Again, this is kind of one of those deals where by the time most people listen to this, they're going to know who the near hero is. But cool thing is, if it's Kyle Blackthorn, everyone's going to look at you and be like, dude, you're the only one who called that one. Because
it's true.
I was not familiar with Blackthorn at all until he sent this in. And I did a little research today. I was kind of looking into it, just reading the wiki and stuff. I guess you can download it for free from, like, for PC through the Battle.net Classic, like through the launcher and everything. Just go to the website. Basically, just Google Blackthorn. That's Black, Thorne for you folks at home, and try it out. I don't know. It's a 1994 SNES game, as well as some early computery stuff. But I don't know. That would be interesting. It's definitely unlikely. It's definitely from Blizzard's history, which I think those were the 2 requirements that we felt fit Kane, but do fit him. I mean, no question. What do you guys think?
I think Blackthorn, because I didn't know either. Like, I knew this was a game. I just didn't know anything about it.
I'd heard the name, but I just didn't know. much.
From what I've looked up, he's like the Duke Nukem of Blizzard universe.
Yeah, he's like a dude with a shotgun, just going around.
Yeah.
Going
It's very
around
90s,
killing
which
demons.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Like they could do something fun with him. I'm not against this.
For
but-
sure. He kind of looks like Raynor without Raynor's suit, the just casual Raynor skin.
Yeah.
So I could also see them if for some reason they never did a Blackthorn hero making a Raynor Blackthorn skin. But I'd love to see him put in. I kind of like, we've got the Lost Vikings. I don't know what they would do with the rock and roll racing, but I'm sure there's stuff they could do there. But
Maybe a mount or something someday.
Yeah. But no,
sure.
Blackthorn would be super cool.
Yeah.
But I still want Kane.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the hero that they announced at PAX was just so awesome that I'm really happy they went with that. It's really cool.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best
Yeah.
heroes ever.
I can't believe it, but there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so he did ask at the end, who would you like to see besides Kane? And then also we had another one in the Discord. Kyle T writes in again with another show question. And I dragged that out because he did. There's a lot of O's and a lot of W's in that one. So he's just asking, who is your dream hero to add to the Nexus? So let's just take a quick moment, and I know we've touched on this point a few times for sure, but I am taking this as not necessarily who would we want to see for the reveal, because again, most people know that by now by the time they're listening to this, but who do we want to see coming up next?
I
First-
haven't
go
thought
ahead. Yeah,
about
go ahead.
this since Firebat, so I'm going to have to take a minute on it.
Yeah, you've been saying Firebat forever, so
Yeah,
you got to
that
refresh.
that was my thing. I don't have a thing anymore. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
Well, we'll give you a minute to come up
and
with the thing.
TBK can give his opinions on Blackthorn as well while I'm thinking.
Well, of course, yes. Sorry, I did not mean to cut off your thoughts on Blackthorn.
Yay, Blackthorn.
Okay.
that wasn't enough time, Ryan. Gosh.
No, I'm.
Well, we can answer
from
the question
Yeah, from a
first.
hero perspective, I am all in on multi-class Feral Druid.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
a
that's
one.
good.
That's what I'm wanting. That's what as soon as Ragnaros, not Ragnaros, as soon as Alexstrasza was released, because Ragnaros was my other one, that BlizzCon dream that came true,
Yep,
and then
same.
Alexstrasza was my next BlizzCon dream that came true. So I'm trying for the turkey, the triple, the whatever other name you can call a 3 thing. I'm going for multi-class Feral Druid. Hopefully BlizzCon
Do you know?
release.
Do you have a preference on what druid that would be?
I'm going to propose one, if you don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
So one of the followers for Druid, because I've re-rolled and I see them all the time now, it's Archdruid Hamul Rune Totem is the name. It would in part be cool because, if I'm not totally mistaken here, he's a Tauren, and we only have ETC in that space. But I think he's typically a bear kind of guy, but you could go any route with him.
Yeah, I'm thinking bear and kitty.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And totally different abilities. We're
Totally.
talking Nidalee
And maybe
from
even
League
Different talent trees.
I
for
want.
each. So just 3 heroes in one.
Well, like shifting talents that are kind of the same but do slightly different things depending on which way you went. Even if it's only past a certain point, or even if it's only like certain talents.
But you got to be able to shift mid-fight, right? So maybe some things to encourage you to make the different shifts.
Maybe.
Like tank a Lilith's bear, then turn into a cat.
Yeah,
And you
there's
get a little
so
bonus
many
to attack speed when you
directions
make
could
that.
do. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say I want it to be a troll, just because I want them to have skins in the game that are going to be the Zandalari trolls with their
Oh, yeah.
new druid skins.
That would be cool. Okay. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but for me, I'm going to say, as much as I want some more heroes from Warcraft, I do love Diablo, and we got Malthael, but before him, we hadn't had anyone since Zul. So I'd love to see more Diablo in there. I'm gonna say either Grom or Adria to kind of be not the super popular ones like Belial or Imperius or kind of a lower tier.
I'm all about that Imperius.
Belial would be cool too, as would Bale from D2 or Mephisto.
There's a lot of cool Diablo characters that they haven't done yet.
There's some space they need to explore there for sure.
I'd be okay with a few Diablo characters in a row, honestly. Let's see some Dibble stuff.
So for me, my actual answer is definitely Hearthstone Brew, the innkeeper from Hearthstone, done in such a way to where you play cards out from your hand and blah blah blah. I've touched on that several times and actually been calling for more Hearthstone representation in Heroes for what feels like years now. But so I've kind of beaten that dead horse, and I'm honestly just waiting patiently at this point. But I wanted to. So when he asked that question, I wanted to throw out one that I haven't yet. So I don't know if you guys have looked too much into it, but from WoW, the Locust Walker would be super cool. So he is a guy. He's an ethereal. He's the one who trained Illyria Windrunner in how to like master the void energies and like shadow magic in a way that makes it to where she doesn't go insane, because that's the void's effect on most people. And so he is a guy we don't know a lot about beyond that point. The Illyria storyline, spoiler alert, in Argus ends with, she kind of finishes up with a quick blurb about how did you learn how to avoid the influence of the void all by yourself. And he's like, oh, maybe I'll tell you that story one day. Cliffhanger. So anyway, my point is, if we had a mysterious character like that, we don't have an ethereal model in the game at all, and they look super cool. Yeah. They could do so much in terms of like void themed abilities, and we could kind of learn a little bit about the Locust Walker and like the direction the Blizzard's gonna take with someone like that. So I mean, it feels like a melee assassin to me. Super high damage, warping around through the void, perhaps, or like stalking people in the void and emerging from a portal of some kind from the other side. I don't know, but he's climbing my list of someone I'd really like to see.
I like that. I think that's a great idea. I'm a big fan of the ethereals. They have a really sweet look. Yeah, I'd love to see that in game.
Mm-hmm. I can dig it. All right, and we have one more here from Valkrix.
Yeah, so this one was cool. I do like the name. Valkrix writes, "Hey guys, first off, I want to say I love the show. Can't remember when I first started listening, but I've been playing since early beta, so I've probably been listening since the early Lots days, which is cool, man. Anyway, on the last episode, you guys mentioned being able to queue into Quick Match as multiple heroes. You can already do this, and I fear a lot of people may not be aware of this. I don't know when this was introduced, as I recently came back from about a 6+ month break. If you set your favorites as a few heroes, you can queue as random and change it to your favorites as well as certain roles. I don't know if this solves your issue or not, but I thought I'd bring it up. I have used this to catch up the heroes I've missed since my break. Thanks for reading the email, Valkrix." So, full disclosure, I haven't taken the time to set all this stuff up. Have you guys looked into this?
I've known it's there. I've never used it, and I don't think it wouldn't solve this issue, because I don't think matchmaking takes into account what your favorite heroes are to pick from those. I think it just picks a random hero for you, and then
it doesn't pick one favorite.
No, what he's saying is, and I think I've mentioned this, it was probably a long time ago. If you set your randomizer up for favorites, you can actually have the randomizer only pick heroes from your favorites.
So Sexy Picard picks your favorites.
I'm just saying the matchmaking doesn't take into account what your favorites are to build a composition from that, I don't think. And if it does,
I do not know about that.
Yeah.
But regardless if it does or not. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, because this whole thing's based around like our issue with the quick match matchmaking and being able to like select multiple heroes to fill multiple roles. You can do that with this, which is cool and definitely something to do, but it doesn't help solve the issue. And even if it did take that into account for matchmaking, that is way too hidden and not. That shouldn't be the thing to fix matchmaking.
Yeah, it's there, but it is extremely poorly implemented. If that's what you're going for that type of thing, there needs to be a very clear. Here's your 3 slots.
Yeah.
Click, click, click.
Right.
Queue, and then the matchmaker goes, "Oh, look, I have 3 heroes to pick from all these different people. Now I can make a, semi-decent comp based on this loose set of rules and whatnot.
Yeah.
The only problem with that system, though, and it's one I actually encounter in WoW yet again, is if the overall matchmaking needs more healers, for instance, like again on my druid, if I queue as healing and damage to like LFR, I'm going as healing because that's what they need for the most part. So I could see that being the case where if you do like 2 assassins and a support, there being scenarios in which you may as well have just queued as the support. But maybe there's a way to, again, maybe if just everyone's doing this, the pool is so much more, there's a wider variety that's not as much of a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you guys. To do that, we'd have to have a more intuitive way of, here's a box in which I just pull up 3 heroes and hit the Q button.
And I am really intrigued now to see if this favorite system, random favorite or whatever, is taken into account. So I actually I'm going to set that up to test it out. And
me too.
Put like a warrior, support, and assassin and just keep queuing
see
as
how it
that.
rolls out.
To see if I am getting put in compositions where that character makes sense. Like, did I get put in a composition where ETC makes sense because there was no more warriors? Cool. Or like when I got picked an assassin, is it a full team of assassins? So
it'd be really interesting to check.
We could see how often the assassin comes up in that scenario too, because kind of that would maybe tell us whether or not it's factoring into your role as well. So yeah, I kind of wanted to set up in general. So
yeah, that's
cool idea. Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Valkrix. Before we get out of here, Multi, why don't you tell people where we can be reached?
Well, we can be found in-game by typing /join space LOTS, or you can join our Discord, of course, which is sticky at the top of our Twitter, but also on bit.ly/lotsdiscord. We are on Twitter, though, at Lords of the Storm. We're on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm, live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central. And whether or not there's a giant announcement on the following Thursday, for the record, which, by the way, that was so incredible, you guys. Then we've got we're a Facebook page, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. You can email us with feedback or questions. Even if you've been listening forever and are just emailing in for one of the first times, thanks again, man. Lords of the Storm at outlook.com. And if you want to help with the show, a couple ways of doing it. You could leave a review. Positive one would be cool, but whatever feels right. If you didn't like the future approach of looking ahead as we did, then let us know. But hey, it was a thing. We did it. And then we got a patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where, again, for anyone who's even considered giving, we appreciate it. Certainly not required. It's helping support the show, but not in a way that it's not our livelihoods. Like, this isn't our 9-to-5 job or anything at this point. So
sadly.
But I mean, the nice thing about it, though, is that we can guarantee that, the funds are going toward the podcast itself. We joke about ketchup packets quite a bit, but it's not like paying any bills. You know what I mean? So, but that's it. So that's why it hits home all the more for the show.
Absolutely. You can find us individually, myself on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, all those things at Gizmozord, as well as on Convert to Raid presents the BattleNet News Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central over at twitch.tv/Convert to Raid. I wasn't there this week, but I'm there most weeks, maybe 66.66 repeating.
Of course.
Or above 75%, perhaps, just depends. Multi, where can you be found?
I made a Leroy Jenkins reference at my morning meeting at work today, and one of the guys on my team caught it.
Huh.
Like, I was like, I mentioned how far along I was in this project, and I said, I'm about 33.3 repeating, of course, percent. And he was like, Leroy Jenkins. I'm like, yeah.
So
it's always fun when people get that.
You had just as much World of Warcraft content in that as the World of Warcraft Family Guy episode had. Congratulations.
Well, I would have to do that and draw a promo pic that gets me really excited for 30 seconds of content. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm with you there. Anyway, I'm on Twitter at Multizord, and I'm also on another show called Hearth Casual, which is with Ro from Realm Maintenance, Brian Black. We have a new episode coming out. It's going to be out on Friday, but we're recording it tomorrow night. And there's just so much going on with Witchwood And like seriously, because we're trying to cut it down to where we only review 3 cards each, just to save for time and that sort of thing. But I am not kidding. I have changed the 3 cards that I'm planning on reviewing 4 times, because every time I look at Hearthstone, there's something crazy on there that I just have to talk about. So I may not even be settled on the ones I'm talking about yet. Dude, that is for sure. Voodoo Doll is nuts. It's just nuts. I don't even know what they're doing with that one. Anyway.
This was Hearth Casual, guys. This is your Hearth Casual for the week.
Yes.
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at TBKZord, and mostly on Twitter though. Lots of Twitter. So much Twitter. Especially tomorrow, after they announced the things that we got excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Super, so much Twitter and exclaiming and squealing, and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. That
it is. We want to give a special thanks to our patron producer Ouroboros Sword for helping support the show. We do appreciate it, as well as all of our patrons. Until then, mess some people up with Fenix till he gets nerfed. We will see you all same time, same place next week, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, where we'll go further in depth on all the awesome stuff that was announced previously. See you then.
Enough. I shall do no more.